Okay, so careers. I thought it'd be useful for you guys just to think about like the reasons why you're doing biology and where it could take you. Now, the careers that I've listed here are literally a drop in the ocean. Like you can do so much with a biology qualification. I ended up going into animal behavioural research and I went out to South Africa for a bit to do that. So there's loads of super interesting stuff that you can do. And even if you don't end up going into a science career, biology is a really solid A-level to have for most jobs. Like most jobs will favour you if you have some kind of science qualification. So if you're interested in finding out any more about career progressions, then I've got 3 links for you there that you can click through and read some articles about biology career progressions. The first thing students learn about in Key Stage 5 biology is the structure of living things, all the way from the smallest biological molecule all the way up to complex organs such as the heart and muscles. They'll then learn how all of these different structures relate to their functions. For example, how the structure of the human lung relates to its function versus how the structure of a fish gill relates to its function. They'll then learn through genetics how this variety is produced and then inherited to the next generation, which creates biodiversity and diversity of structures. They'll then learn about how different organisms interact within an ecosystem with each other, and then also with biotic and abiotic factors within the ecosystem. They'll learn about how organisms respond to factors within the ecosystem, and then how interacting with these factors will drive natural selection. They'll then learn how organisms are interdependent on each other, and then how organisms are actually dependent on the biotic and abiotic factors in their ecosystem and how nutrients are cycled through the ecosystem. First of all, these are your topics that you study. So, your Year 12 topics, you start off with biological molecules. So these are things like proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, etc. The reason we do this first is because it gives you a really good grounding to be able to access all the rest of the topics. Then we do a topic on cells. Organisms exchange substances with their environment, so that's things like the lungs. Then genetic information, variation and relationships between organisms. Then in Year 13, you'll do energy transfers in and between organisms, so that's things like respiration. Then organisms respond to changes to their internal and external environment is the nervous system and the endocrine system. And then genetics, populations, evolution and ecosystems, and control of gene expression, which is super interesting. So the topics are equally split between Year 12 and 13. They get slightly more difficult in Year 13, and you're going to be expected to use your Year 12 knowledge to be able to feed into your Year 13 content. So one of the things that people don't realise about A-level biology is there are actually some quite difficult math skills involved. So in the specification, there's 20 core math skills that you need to be able to demonstrate, and the lowest level of the math skill is the maths that appears on a higher GCSE paper. Okay, that's the lowest level of any math skill you'll be asked to demonstrate. So there's a little list there. That's not all of them, but that's some of them that I thought that you would be particularly familiar with, and you may have come across in GCSE. So I'll just give you a few seconds to read that. So something that I will mention later on is because we do difficult maths in A-level biology, you will be expected to come equipped with a scientific calculator because you won't be able to complete the course without it. To complete the Key Stage 5 biology course, you will need to complete 12 required practicals. I've given you a list of 4 practicals that you may be familiar with from GCSE on the slide. So you will do a practical to investigate the effect of a variable on the rate of an enzyme-controlled reaction. You'll also do a dissection of a gas exchange organ, so either the heart or the lungs. And you'll also do a practical to investigate how to use aseptic techniques to grow bacteria. Now, you have to complete these, and you have to pass the 12 practicals to be able to pass the course, but you will also be asked questions on the practicals within the written element of the exam. So you've got your paper 1. So your paper 1 will assess your knowledge on sections 1 to 4. So that's biological molecules, cells, organisms, exchange, and genetic information. So they come up in paper 1. And there's practical skills in all of the papers. So paper 1's 2 hours, 91 marks, and it's 35% of your A-level. So within there, you're going to have short and long answer questions, and then you also have an extended response question, which is essentially an essay. Then you've got your paper 2, which assesses sections 5 to 8. So that's your energy transfers, your changes in the environment, your genetics, and your gene expression. And again, your practical skills. So they're going to ask you questions on the required practicals that you've carried out. Again, that's 2 hours, 91 marks, and again, 35%. And it's also a mix of short, long, and essay questions. And then you've got your paper 3. So paper 3 can assess content from any of the 8 sections, and obviously, again, practical skills. It's also 2 hours, but it's less marks. And it's 30%. So this one focuses a bit more heavily on practical techniques and things like critical analysis of experimental data, which is something that doesn't really occur in GCSE, so that's something we would prep you for at A-level. Across all of your papers, at least 10% of all the marks will be math skills, and they'll be chosen from that list that I showed you earlier and more. In summary, the entry requirements for Key Stage 5 biology are a 7/7 in science if you studied a double award, a 7 in biology if you studied a triple award, and a 6 in English and maths. You'll study 4 topics a year, and you'll complete 12 required practicals over the 2 years. Throughout the 2 years, you'll need to demonstrate maths and practical skills. And at the end of year 13, you'll take 3 exams. You'll have 5 lessons a week, and you'll complete 3 hours of homework a week. That's the end of the presentation. I hope it's been useful. Thank you for your time, and if you have any more questions, please feel free to email me on j.quick@harrisgreenwich.org.uk.